We're joined by the great Mike Mayock. You can hear him every week on the Believe in Eagles podcast with Lee Mayock. Mike, how you feeling, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing?
We're doing
What's
good.
up, Mike?
We're doing good. You know, we come off a big win on Monday night against the Packers, and within 48 hours, we're in the A.J. Brown vortex again. I know we talked to you about A.J. from I actually had a couple of questions, one A.J. related, one A.J. not related, just about from a GM perspective. I guess when things like this are constant, you know, some teams will have a blow up once in a while. The player will say something, it'll go away. This one keeps going. I guess from an organizational standpoint, at what point do you sit everyone down and say enough is enough? They can say that it's not bothering the locker room all they want, but it's still there. So it's less of a specific question and more of a how do you handle this?
I mean, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and basically everything I thought they should be doing, I'm sure they were doing, which is sitting down and having big boy conversations. You get to a point, I think, where you don't know and I don't know what really is or isn't happening in that locker room. And I've been in a lot of locker rooms, as has Ike. And there are times when you get a guy like this where the players just kind of shrug and go, yeah, that's AJ. It's just him. Don't worry about it. There are other times where it festers and it becomes an issue, right? So I'm not in that building. I don't know what it is right now. They're 7-2. I don't like the passive-aggressive social media approach, yet in my old age, I'm trying to understand that, you know, this is how the younger generation communicates. I just don't like the way it comes out is kind of like, well, you know, I'm at home on my private time and, you know, it's no big deal. And a lot of people probably agree with what he's saying about the offense. And some of what he's saying isn't wrong. It's frustrating to watch that offense right now. But at the end of the day, I think you have to look at it and say this talent is so good. And we're 7-2. We're coming off a Super Bowl, and it only becomes a major, major disconnect in that building if there becomes a problem with the quarterback and the wideout. Is the way I look at it. If the quarterback doesn't trust him to be the right place at the right time, or they lose respect for each other professionally, that can be a problem. Now, I don't see it. I don't see it there. I don't see it happening. I don't think it would happen because the quarterback is just so damn professional. But I think, to me, that's kind of the point where you go over the line if you think it's actually affecting what the quarterback and the wideout are doing on the field.
I hear, and that all makes a lot of sense. The one thing that I think about when you say, you know, because I'm 49, I'm not 28 either, you know, and there's a lot going on that I look at and I say, wow, that's beyond me, is that I look at the whole team and they're all young and he's the only one doing it. So all that said, like, you know, they are 7-2, and I start to think about what if they do lose that game? You know, what if Green Bay gets into field goal range and they do lose that game and he does the same thing? It's sort of, what's the phrase? Winning's the best deodorant. If you don't win, then all of a sudden, does this little stuff end up becoming bigger stuff?
Well, let's be really clear to start with, and it's obvious. Unless you're a superstar, you don't get away with this in the first place. That's why nobody else in the locker room is doing it. Okay? Wide receivers are kind of divas by nature. I would make the argument, though, that number 6 is every bit as good as number 11, and it should be classified in the same way. Mm-hmm. And my frustration is a little bit more along the lines of every team fortunate enough to have 2 high-level wideouts. I don't care what you look at Cincinnati, you look at, Dallas, Philly. Cincinnati and Dallas seem to have no problems getting the football to their wideouts. And at a certain point, again, we go back to that conversation about identity, Spike. They're 7-2, and I still don't know what their offensive identity is. I have no idea. And on a week-to-week basis, we're running out of weeks now to kind of establish, who we are, what we are, and how we're going to, the margin for error now is getting to the point where it's probably not sustainable, because the way they're winning games is they win the turnover battle every week, and that's largely because of their quarterback and their defense. And number two, they're a great red zone team on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. So they're scoring touchdowns while other teams are kicking field goals. But the margin for error is so damn narrow. The A.J. Brown thing, again, I just keep going back to, he's a wide receiver, he's a prima donna. Unless it's a major disconnect in the locker room and it affects the play between him and the quarterback, I don't think they're going to get to a point this season where it's going to change anything.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, Mike. I just don't know what's going to change. If you're looking at the offense in the way that it is, it can only be several things as it pertains to AJ. And if we want to exclude him, that's fine. But either he's not the same player he once was, or the quarterback is the issue, or the offensive play design. And I just don't know, how do you fix these things when it seems to me that they want to be a running team. Like, they don't want to be a team that throws the ball 35, 40 times. So targets are going to always be scarce as far as who's going to get them and how many you're going to get. With the amount of talent they have offensively, somebody's going to be left out. Some of those other teams that put up those ridiculous numbers, they're either losing, they have to throw all the time, and that's sort of how they play. The Eagles play a brand of football that's close to the vest, don't turn the ball over, take advantage of field position, and win the game no matter what it looks like. And I just don't know if they're ever going to play offense to the level that everyone's satisfied. Because even look at their team last year, Mike, people complained about the passing game. It was a 29th ranked passing game, and they had a historical year from the running back. So it almost seems like there's going to be something, regardless of what the offense looks like when they win, that somebody is not going to be happy.
Well, and everything you said is true, and I don't disagree. They're never going to be a top 5 or top 6 passing team in this league, or probably not a top 10, even with 2 top-level wideouts. That's probably not who they want to be, right? Mm-hmm. So as long as they're winning football games, they're going to live with A.J. Brown right now. I can't speak for the offseason. I don't know any of that. But right now they're going to live with it. And, as far as playing things close to the vest, they are. But at a certain point, you're going to turn the ball over 3 or 4 times some game, and you're going to need to score points. And we talked about this last year, Ike, on the stretch to the playoffs. I kept saying somebody's going to stop Saquon, and then what? Mm-hmm. Are they going to be able to handle it? And they did. Yep. They handled it. Yeah. And every time we kind of say Jalen Hurts is not a top-level quarterback in this town, he shows that he is. Mm-hmm. So I just get, there's so many things going through my head, guys, about this game. And, the head coach not punting the ball late in the game and all these things. If you're a conservative, defensive-minded, run-the-ball team, why aren't you punting?
Right.
Exactly.
We said the same thing. Yep.
I agree.
And here, let me take that one step further. It should have never even come to that 4th down decision in my mind. If you look back, and I don't know if you guys talked about this at all, but
the previous drive, where they threw on 2nd and 3rd is what you mean, right?
I mean, they force them to use a timeout on 1st down, and the next 2 they throw incomplete passes. It runs 10 seconds off and saves both timeouts that Green Bay then used to force a 4th down decision. It should have been a kneel down. Mm-hmm. But when they got the ball back, it should have been game over, kneel down. So there's just some inconsistencies here that I get frustrated with. And again, the head coach has got a great record, and who am I to say anything? And I'm not trying to be overly critical. I just think from a time management perspective, they were 2 huge mistakes that can cost you games, and they're fortunate that they didn't cost them this one.
Mike, we want to talk to you about the game and the tape and the Lions game. I have one other GM-related question about Jair Alexander. So they trade for Jair Alexander, and I think we could all agree we didn't know how much he had left, and that he barely played this year, and the Green Bay obviously didn't think enough of him to keep him. That said, they traded for him, and he, has basically retired or semi-retired, isn't going to play this year. When you're trading for somebody, do you have an opportunity? We know you get a physical, but is there an opportunity to talk to the player to see where their head is at? It just seems so stunning that within a week, the guy isn't playing football anymore.
You're technically not allowed to.
Okay.
Unless you ask for specific permission and it's granted by the other GM. So you can't talk directly to another team's player.
Okay, so you're basically just, you're
trust.
Yeah, you just have to hope that he wants to play. Okay.
So let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you this real quick, Mike, on the injury thing. If you were to you trade for the player and you get him, the team gives him a physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then I'm assuming he passed the physical here, else they wouldn't have. Yep. But if he didn't, then the trade would have been rescinded if he wouldn't have passed the physical?
Correct.
Okay.
And one thing, and Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, as far as passing physicals, I think people think there's some hardline rule on passing physicals. A team can fail a player on a physical with whatever they want. It's a sliding scale. So if they look at the physical and they say, they could pick something, right? I mean, there's not a hard and fast rule about failing a physical.
No, but it kind of contradicts what you're trying to do. If you're trying to acquire a player and then you just arbitrarily say we're not going to take them because we don't want them now.
Oh, no. I agree. What I'm saying is that I think a lot of people say pass a physical as if they
think they're healthy.
Yeah, that there's a specific test. Clearly, they maybe they knew something was there, but they decided to take the risk if there was a physical thing. The physical thing is to become aware of all of those things.
Basically, you're looking for all his medical records. You're having your doctor and your trainers go through them. They're coming through, and if he's had a couple of different surgeries on his knees, you're making sure you're checking the x-rays and making sure you're happy with all that, and you're 100% trusting your medical people.
So Mike Mayock with us. Mike, we talked about AJ and the offense. The defense played their best game of the year. Jaylen Phillips instantly made a huge difference. After looking at the tape of that game, can you speak a little bit about Jaylen Phillips' performance and then the effect it had on the rest of the defense?
Yeah. Basically, I took a bunch of notes, but to just kind of sum it all up, he was a difference maker both in the run and pass game. I told you that I had done a Miami game earlier this year, and I thought he was back from those injuries. And the other night was as good a game as I've seen him play. He's long, he's powerful. He shocks tight ends with his hand strength and violence. He pushed the tackle, the right tackle, back in the quarterback's face I don't know how many times. And he makes a difference on a bunch of different levels because they can go with a bunch of different packages. He and Nolan Smith become kind of the starting edge rushers. Jelix Hunt now kicks the 3. 55, Brandon Graham still has some power. Trust me, there's some power left in those hands and legs. He just needs to get in better shape. But they can run through different packages and kick Jaylen Phillips inside. He's a speed to power guy that's athletic and twitchy. And I told you all this last week. I love the acquisition. And if he stays healthy, he's going to change the ability of the Eagles to rush the quarterback.
So, big game on Sunday night, and you mentioned the offense. Like, the offense clearly took a step back, didn't run the ball well. Jaylen made it was an uneven Jaylen game, I think. He made some big plays, but also had some misses that were pretty obvious. So going at this offense against the Detroit defense, what are you looking at on Sunday night in those matchups?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they have one dominant pass rusher, obviously, in Aiden Hutchinson, and then they kind of get it done by scheme and committee. They have a couple of interior rushers that are good in Aleem McNeil and their rookie first-round pick, Tyleek Williams. They're quick and explosive inside, but they don't have a lot of rush outside other than Aiden. So their defense coordinator's got to be creative. So when you look at matchups on the outside, I'll be interested to see. They have a guy named Terrion Arnold who was a first-round pick a few years ago. He's longer. all-pro corner. I'll be really intrigued to see if they match him up with A.J. Brown, because the other starting corner is Amik Robertson, who we drafted when I was with the Raiders. He was a fourth-round pick in 2020, and he's quick and he's tough and he's feisty, but he's 5'9".
Oh, we cooking him.
So as tough and I love the kid, but on nickel they'll move him inside a lot and bring another corner outside just to match, so he's not matched up. But it'll be really intriguing for me to see what they do with Terrion Arnold if he's matched up with number 11, which makes a lot of sense to me if I was game planning the Eagles. And they got linebackers who can run and play, etc. But from the pass game perspective, that's the matchup. In the run game, they're solid. They don't stand out in any one area, but they're a Dan Campbell team. They compete, they set the edge, they come downhill, they tackle. The difference in this game to me is, I'm not sure the Eagles are going to score a lot of points, and I think Detroit is highly capable of they're one of the best 2 or 3 offensive teams in the league, and the Eagles defense is going to have to play at a high level.
You think the Lions are going to win this game?
I don't know. I would tell you right now that if the Eagles offense scores 10 points, yeah.
Well, that's a pretty solid guess.
I agree with
think,
you on that one. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Mike. Thank you as always. We'll talk to you next week at the same time.
Appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate it, guys.
There he is, the great Mike Mayock.